There were 67 chairs. I counted them. 67 guests. Each one holding their breath. Each one staring at me like I was a glitch in the ceremony. Like the groom was some lonely statue at the center of a party he wasn't invited to. Her shoes were still in the dressing room. Sparkly, silver, untouched. One heel was slightly crooked, the strap bent inwards like it had been thrown instead of placed. She left barefoot. Or in sneakers. No one knew. The violinist kept playing long after the silence should have taken over. He was on autopilot. I remember the string snapped mid-song. Ping, like a gunshot through glass. I waited 43 minutes. She didn't show. No text. No call. Just a whisper from her sister, trembling lips and mascara-streaked cheeks. She's gone. She left the city. That was it. That was the end of my wedding. Except, the weird part, the part that nobody talks about, it didn't feel like heartbreak. It felt like a glitch. Like I'd stepped out of my own timeline. And her sister, the one everyone ignored, the one who hated this wedding more than I did. She didn't leave. She stayed. And 3 weeks later, she kissed me, right where her sister was supposed to say I do. The worst part wasn't the fact that she left me. It was how fast everyone wanted to pretend it never happened. The morning after the non-wedding, my aunt dropped off Tupperware lasagna like I'd just gone through a bad breakup and not been publicly abandoned at an altar. The florist texted me asking if I wanted a partial refund. The venue manager sent a cold, templated email about their cancellation policy. No one dared to ask how I felt. They all just slid around it like grief was contagious. I spent 2 nights sleeping on the floor of my apartment because I couldn't bear to lie in the bed we'd picked out together. Every item in that place felt radioactive. Her tea mugs, her bobby pins stuck in the carpet, her books still open and face down like she planned to return in an hour. But she didn't. Not even a voicemail. And then, on the 3rd day, someone knocked. It was Lena, her sister. Hair tied back, oversized hoodie, no makeup. Not the polished bridesmaid I remembered from the rehearsal dinner, but someone real. Raw. She didn't wait for me to invite her in. Just pushed past me like she'd rehearsed the moment 100 times and couldn't waste it. She dropped something on the table. A folded note. Different handwriting than the one Camille left me at the wedding. Rough, rushed, angry slants. Her fingers trembled when she said, she didn't write it. That wasn't her handwriting. I didn't understand. What do you mean? Lena looked at me like I was still wearing the suit and tie, like I hadn't changed out of the ghost of the groom yet. She never wrote that letter. Camille's handwriting is rounded. Loopy. That note was printed. And she doesn't say things like, the story I want to live. That's not her voice. You know it. I wanted to dismiss it. Call it grief, denial, conspiracy. But she was right. I didn't know Camille's voice. And now that I thought about it, that letter had felled off from the beginning. Too sterile. Too scripted. And suddenly, something snapped into place. I asked Lena, who had access to her that morning. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small USB stick. I shouldn't even have this, she said. But if you want the truth, you'll want to see what's on here. I didn't breathe for a moment. Because somehow, I knew this story wasn't over. Not even close. And the part that came next would tear her entire family apart. I must have stared at that USB stick for a full minute before I even touched it. It felt heavier than it should have, like it carried a weight beyond the plastic and metal. Maybe it was the weight of what it might reveal. Or maybe it was the weight of hope. I hadn't allowed myself to hope in days. Hope was dangerous now. It made your hands shake. Lena didn't say anything while I plugged it into my laptop. She just stood behind me, arms crossed tight, like she was holding herself together physically because mentally she was already unraveling. The screen blinked to life. One folder. No label. Just a timestamp. June 8 to 9:21 a.m. Wedding day? A few hours before everything collapsed. Inside the folder, 3 video files. The first one was shaky, like it had been filmed in secret. I clicked play. The camera showed Camille, sitting in the dressing room in her wedding robe, hair still half curled. She looked calm. Not nervous. Not panicked. Just present. She was talking to someone off-screen, voice soft, like she was being careful not to be overheard. She said she was sorry, Camille whispered. But it's too late. I made my choice. A voice replied, "Lo, Male. You don't have to go through with it, you know that." "I'm not backing out," Camille said. "I just want it to be over. Clean. No drama." The screen went black. End of file. I didn't recognize the man's voice, but Lena did. She stepped forward, hand gripping the back of my chair. Her knuckles turned white. "That's Victor," she said, her voice tight. "My mother's boyfriend." I turned slowly to look at her. "Wait, your mother's boyfriend? Why would he be with her the morning of the wedding? Where was your mom?" "She had food poisoning," Lena said, eyes flickering. "She wasn't even there yet. Victor offered to help set things up. Said he was just being helpful." Something sick settled in my gut. I clicked the second video. This one was shorter. Camille was crying. Not sobbing, just silent, tight-teared crying. Her makeup was untouched. It looked like she was forcing herself to hold still. "I just don't want to hurt him," she said. "I never wanted this to happen this way." Victor's voice again. "It's better than marrying someone you don't love." I paused the video and stared at the wall. Lena sat on the couch now, head in her hands. She never told me. She never said she was second-guessing anything. We talked about that wedding for months, Ellis. I should have felt angry, betrayed. But instead, I felt something stranger. I felt like someone who had walked into the wrong movie theater halfway through the film and suddenly realized the movie wasn't even about them. Then came the third file. I hesitated before opening it. My hand hovered over the trackpad. Lena didn't speak. The video opened with Camille again. But this time, she was walking. It was an outdoor camera, a parking lot. She was carrying a duffel bag, still in her robe, barefoot, a hoodie thrown over the dress. Her hair was pulled up. No makeup. Victor's car pulled up next to her. She got in. She left. No hug. No kiss. No wave. Just a door slamming and a car pulling away. That was it. That's how it ended. I sat back in my chair. My lungs weren't working right. Lena stood, walked to the window, said nothing. The silence stretched, until I finally asked, "Why did you show me this?" She turned, eyes red. "Because I thought you deserved more than a life folded into a triangle." And for the first time since that damn wedding, someone looked me in the eye not with pity, but with truth. I didn't know it then, but that moment, that exact, painful, cracking moment, it was the beginning of something none of us could undo. The day after Lena showed me the videos, I did something I swore I wouldn't do. I went back to the house Camille and I were supposed to move into after the wedding. It was this old blue cottage with creaky steps and a leaning mailbox, the kind of place that needed more love than money. We'd spent 2 months painting the living room ourselves. She picked a ridiculous shade of yellow that I hated, but pretended to love because she said it reminded her of her grandmother's kitchen. I still had the keys. Camille never asked for them back. Probably because she never planned to come back. It was eerie walking through the door. The place was frozen in time. Her jacket still hung over the armchair. A mug of tea, now just stained ceramic and dried leaves, sat on the windowsill. The bedroom was exactly how she left it. Her perfume bottle still open, her jewelry spread out like she couldn't decide what to wear. There was even a post-it on the mirror. "Remind me," lipstick, with a heart drawn next to it. I didn't cry. I just stood there and let the silence push against me until it started to feel like noise. And then I noticed the envelope. It was tucked inside her nightstand drawer, under an old paperback she used to read before bed. This time it was in her handwriting. The loopy, uneven kind Lena had described. It wasn't addressed to me. It didn't even have a name. Just one word on the front. Truth. I opened it, expecting a confession. A goodbye? Something. But it wasn't a letter, not exactly. It was a list. A column of names. Some had check marks. Others had nothing next to them. Mine was there. Ellis, no check. But next to Victor's name, she had written in tiny, frantic letters. "If anyone finds this, start here." That was when I knew. This wasn't just about cold feet. This wasn't even about love. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. I called Lena. She picked up on the first ring. "I found something," I said. "In her drawer." She was already driving over before I finished describing the note. An hour later, we were both sitting on the floor of the yellow living room, the list between us, and a bottle of cheap wine neither of us really touched. She studied it like it was a blueprint. "3 of these names," she said slowly, "are women I know. Friends of hers from that nonprofit she volunteered at in college. Why would they be on here?" I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that Camille had wanted someone to see this, to follow it. Lena leaned back against the wall and looked at me, her eyes half-shadowed. "Do you want to find her?" she asked. It was a simple question. One anyone else would have assumed had an obvious answer. But I didn't say yes right away. I sat there, looking around the room she built for a life she walked out of. And then I nodded. I don't just want to find her, I said. I want to know what the hell I was really a part of. Lena didn't smile, but something in her relaxed, as if she'd been waiting for me to say those words. And that's how it started, the strangest partnership of my life. The jilted groom and the furious sister. A duo no one asked for. Looking for a woman who vanished in plain sight. What we found next. It changed everything I thought I knew, not just about Camille, but about myself. The first name on the list was Harper Linwood. A name that didn't mean anything to me, but Lena recognized it instantly. She was at the rehearsal dinner, she said. Sat at the edge of the room, alone. Barely spoke to anyone. I remember because Camille introduced her as an old friend, but they hugged like strangers. We found her 2 days later. She worked at a small modern art gallery downtown. One of those white-walled places with concrete floors and frames that were more expensive than the art inside them. The woman who greeted us looked like she hadn't slept in days. Short dark hair, long sleeves even in the heat, nervous hands that kept fidgeting with the zipper on her sweater. When I said Camille's name, she froze completely, like someone had unplugged her from reality. She's not dead, is she? Harper whispered. No, Lena said before I could answer. But she's gone. Harper glanced around the empty gallery and locked the front door without asking. Then she led us to a small office in the back and pulled the blinds closed. I swear my stomach dropped when she did that, like we were walking into something far bigger than we were ready for. She told me something once, Harper began. Said if anyone came asking about her, anyone at all, I was supposed to tell them one thing. Check the garden. I frowned. What garden? Harper shrugged. She never said, but I think it's connected to the foundation. That word again. Foundation. Camille used to talk about a nonprofit she volunteered with during college, some outreach program that helped young women recover after traumatic events. But she never told me the name, just referred to it casually, like it was ancient history. Lena remembered more. It wasn't a typical nonprofit, she said slowly. They did off-the-books counseling, even sheltering women anonymously. Camille spent an entire summer upstate working with them. She came back, different. Different how? She started keeping notebooks, Lena said. Wrote everything down. Every conversation, every number, even dreams. Pages and pages. Mom thought she was just becoming some kind of journal freak, but I saw the way she'd freeze if someone touched her bag. I think she was scared of forgetting something. That hit me like a punch. Camille always had a sharp memory, but she also had this habit of repeating herself in whispers when she was alone. I thought it was quirky, endearing. I didn't see it for what it was, a person trying to hold on to reality with both hands. We left Harper with a thank you she didn't really want and stepped outside into the sunlight that now felt like it didn't belong to us. The street buzzed with life, but it felt too loud, too ordinary. What did she get involved in? I muttered. Lena was quiet for a moment, then said something I'll never forget. She didn't run because she was afraid of marrying you, Ellis. She ran because she was afraid she wouldn't get the chance to. It silenced me, because for the first time, I felt it too, the wrongness. The fact that nothing about Camille's disappearance added up. The list, the video, the letter that wasn't hers. The staged calm. It was like watching a play and only realizing halfway through that the actors were reading from the wrong script. That night, Lena stayed over. Not romantically, not even close. We sat on the floor again, both of us afraid to sleep. The list was between us like some cursed artifact, daring us to flip to the next name. I did. I whispered it aloud like a secret that could wake ghosts. Alina Roche. And then, somewhere in that yellow-painted room, I swear I heard something creak. Alina Roche lived in a townhouse 2 hours outside the city, in a neighborhood that looked like it had been forgotten by time. Every mailbox was rusted. Every sidewalk cracked. The trees were bare even though it was early summer, like the place had given up on blooming a long time ago. We weren't sure she'd even still be there, but Lena insisted we go in person. Something about calling ahead felt wrong. Like if we warned her, she'd disappear. When Alina opened the door, I almost didn't recognize her from the photo Lena had found online. She looked older than 30. Eyes sunken, jaw tight. Her left arm was wrapped in a compression sleeve, and there was a tremor in her fingers when she held the doorframe. Camille sent you? She asked. Not did Camille send you, just Camille sent you. Like it was inevitable. Like we were the mail arriving late. We nodded. Alina stepped aside. Inside her home, everything smelled faintly of matches. burnt wood, metal, and lavender. The walls were lined with books, none of them alphabetized. Some of the spines were torn like they'd been thrown or clawed at. She led us into a small kitchen where a tea kettle hissed on the stove and 3 cups were already set out. I figured someone would come eventually, she said, pouring without asking what we liked. When she disappeared, I knew it wouldn't be clean. Lena went straight to the point. What happened to her? Alina didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into a drawer and pulled out an old file folder, thick and bent at the corners. Inside were photos, documents, newspaper clippings, all centered around one name, the Vesta Project. She volunteered there, Alina said. Just like I did. Just like Harper. And we all left different than we entered. I picked up one of the documents, a staff list. Camille's name was there, but under an alias. So were Alina's and Harper's. None of them had used their real names. According to this file, Camille was listed as Eva Rhodes. Lena leaned in. What the hell was this place? Alina looked us both dead in the eyes. A program that claimed to help women start over. But what they really did was erase them. She told us how Vesta operated under a legitimate umbrella, a legal shelter, with government ties, social services. But underneath it was something else. They manipulated women into staying hidden. They cut off ties to families, renamed them, gave them false histories, allegedly to protect them from past trauma. But Alina believed it was more than that. They were building profiles, she said. Digital footprints. Study subjects. They had therapists recording sessions, tracking behavior, testing reactions. It was like they were trying to build some psychological prototype of the perfect survivor. I felt my spine tighten. Why would Camille volunteer for that? She didn't. She was one of them. At first. But she played along so well, they offered her a position. That's how deep she got. It made sense now. The journals, the obsession with writing things down, the careful language, the code words. Camille had never left the program. She had become part of it. And when she tried to escape, when she tried to live a normal life with me, someone pulled her back. Lena's voice shook. Victor, he's the one who picked her up that day. Alina's face went pale. That man, she said. He's not her mother's boyfriend. He used to work for Vesta. I felt something cold ripple down my chest. You're sure? I never forget faces, Alina whispered. Especially the ones that stood behind the mirror. It was Lena who spoke next, slowly, like her brain was still catching up to her mouth. Camille didn't leave because she changed her mind, she said. She left because she got caught trying to leave. And I realized something that made my stomach twist. The wedding wasn't the escape. It was the cover. She didn't abandon me. She tried to use me to vanish. And someone stopped her. That night, I sat on Camille's old bed, holding the torn list in my hands like it was a lifeline. And for the first time since all this started, I wasn't angry. I was terrified. Because Camille was out there. And someone didn't want her to be found. I didn't sleep again after Alina told us about Vesta. I tried. I lay down in the same bed Camille used to curl up in, next to a nightstand still cluttered with chapstick tubes and broken hair ties, trying to imagine her sleeping peacefully beside me. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face in that video. The one from the USB. Her expression wasn't afraid. It wasn't even sad. It was something colder. A look I'd never seen on her before, like she was already halfway gone and hadn't told her body yet. By sunrise, I was sitting on the porch, knees pulled up, sipping coffee that tasted like rust. Lena came out barefoot, wearing an old hoodie I'd forgotten I owned. Her hair was a mess. She looked like she hadn't slept either. She's not dead, she said, sitting next to me. I know. She's in hiding. I know. She might not want to be found. I didn't respond to that one. We spent the morning going over every detail again. The list, the USB, the conversation with Alina, the timeline of the wedding. And as we did, something kept bothering me. A small piece that didn't fit. Why were the videos so neat? Who recorded them? Who saved them? Why would Victor allow himself to be captured on file helping Camille escape? It made no sense. Until it did. Lena was the one who figured it out. We were scrolling through old emails Camille had forwarded to me during wedding planning, and one included a link to a shared cloud folder. Just photos, at first glance, catering options, dress fittings, venue lighting tests. I was about to skip it when Lena grabbed my wrist. Wait, she said. Go back. There was a photo of Camille standing in the bridal suite, same robe as in the video. But behind her, in the mirror, you could see something else. A reflection. A tripod. A camera, hidden behind a coat rack. We pulled up the footage again and checked the angle. It matched. My stomach sank. Victor didn't film this, Lena said. She did. Why would she? And then it hit us both at once. She was documenting everything. On purpose. To leave a trail. But not for me. Not for her family. Not even for herself. For someone else. We dug into the file data and found something hidden deep in the video metadata. A small encrypted text comment embedded in the third file. Lena copied it out and ran it through a few decoders. At first, it was gibberish. Then she tried base 64. It cracked. A single message appeared. If you're reading this, they didn't let me go. Trust no one. Not even Lena. We stared at the screen in silence. My heart slowed down. My skin went cold. I looked at Lena. She looked back at me. And everything cracked. She stood up. Too fast. That's not real. You saw me. I've been with you the whole time. Why would she say that? I don't know, I said quietly. But she did. Lena stepped back like I'd hit her. You think I'm part of this? I don't know what I think. Her eyes narrowed. You think I'm working with Victor? With them? Lena, I've been trying to help you. While you fall apart every night and dig through drawers like a ghost hunter. While you spiral. I was the one who showed you that USB. I was the one who dragged you out of your pity fog. And now you're accusing me? I'm not accusing. I'm processing. She laughed. Bitter low. You always process. You never choose. No wonder she ran. That hit harder than it should have. I didn't respond. She shook her head and turned toward the door. You want to chase ghosts, Ellis? Do it alone. She slammed it behind her. And just like that, I was back where I started. Alone. In a half-lived house. Holding pieces of someone I loved and maybe never really knew. But I still had the list. And only 2 names left. And one of them was mine. I didn't hear from Lena for 3 weeks. During that time, I didn't chase any more clues. I didn't open the last name on the list. I didn't dig deeper into Vesta or Victor or anything else. I just stopped. Because sometimes silence becomes so loud it drowns out the mystery. And I was tired of living in the echo of someone else's choices. Instead, I stayed in the house Camille left behind. The one with the yellow walls and the warped floorboards, and started fixing it up. I painted over the yellow. Planted flowers in the backyard. Replaced the cracked porch light. Not because I thought she'd come back, but because I needed something to end. Something to be finished. And then one morning, a letter came. No name. No return address. Just one word on the front of the envelope. Ellis. Inside, there was a single page. Typed. Clean. Direct. If you're reading this, it means I made it. I'm safe. Somewhere that doesn't trace back. I can't tell you where I am, and you can't come looking, because if you do, someone might find you. Or find me. But I want you to know that the wedding wasn't fake. I meant it. I loved you. I still do. But love didn't keep me safe. Disappearing did. You gave me cover when no one else would. And I'll never forget that. No signature. No date. But it was her. I felt it in every line. I reread that letter more times than I can count. And then, one rainy afternoon while I was staring at the envelope like it still had more to say, I heard the sound of gravel outside the house. I looked up, and there was Lena, soaking wet, hair plastered to her cheeks, her eyes swollen, like she'd been crying for hours. She didn't say anything at first, just stepped under the porch and stared at me like I was a question she finally wanted to answer. I opened the door and let her in. We didn't talk for a long time. Just sat in the kitchen, drinking tea. Then, finally, she whispered, she sent me a letter too. I nodded. I didn't ask what it said. I didn't need to. I'm sorry, she said. For the things I said. For making you doubt me. I'm sorry too, I told her. For needing everything to make sense. Lena smiled faintly. It never will. That night, she stayed. Again, not like that. Just as someone who had been to war with me. Someone who had walked through the same wreckage and wanted to stop pretending they were fine. And somewhere between those quiet nights and slow healing, we started laughing again. Not over Camille. Not over trauma. Just over little things. Burnt toast. Stupid movies. Her awful taste in candles. And then, one day, she reached for my hand and didn't let go. We didn't plan to fall in love. We didn't expect it. But it happened anyway, slowly, gently, in the small spaces that used to be haunted. 2 years later, we got married. Nothing fancy. No grand venue. No crowd. Just 30 chairs in the backyard of that same blue house. No yellow paint. No ghosts. Just me, Lena, and the life we both built from ruins. I wore the same suit. She wore sandals. We wrote our own vows. And when I kissed her, I knew something I never understood before. Sometimes, your life burns to the ground not to end, but to begin differently. Camille gave me the chance to see that. And Lena? She gave me the courage to believe in it. So yes, my bride once left me at the altar. But I still got my wedding. Just not the one I thought. The one I needed.